I saw this patient in the emergency room and hypnotized him about a half hour after the burn, gave him the suggestion of being cool and comfortable.
8 o'clock Saturday, Hypnosis examined some remarkable medical results.
He progressively healed very easily and comfortably, and here he is on the 14th day, complete when I let him work. If you get to them within the first 2 hours before the response has been released, you can block the response and in effect have them react as though they had not been burned.
Hypnosis, 8 o'clock Saturday on ABC.
Tonight we're launching it, which holds the promise of changing the human history.
The Reagan
Of changing the course of human history.
The Reagan dream of a space shield to defend mankind is under heavy fire.
I felt that it was nonsense. Only later on did it occur to me that it might also be a very dangerous course.
A definitive look at the ultimate weapon, next on Four Corners.
First in the new series of Quantum, a nuclear power plant blows up. So, what does it mean? Who was hurt, how badly, and why did it happen? Dolphins, and how they're showing scientists the way to the ultimate non-stick surface. And sand dunes. Everyone knows they shift, and without warning, now scientists have got their measure. That's Quantum, returning 8 o'clock Tuesday to ABC.
Good evening, Graham Linden with the late news. The federal government today took a tough and uncompromising stance at the Premier's Conference in Canberra, slashing the borrowing capacities of the states by $1.2 billion. Mr. Hawke claimed afterwards the government had demonstrated it meant business when it said tough decisions had to be taken to rescue the economy. And two Labor premiers, Mr. Rand from New South Wales and Mr. Kane from Victoria, said it had been the toughest Premier's Conference they had ever attended.
Mr. Keating told the premiers that such an approach, coupled with wages discounting, would eventually have its rewards in reduced interest rates and lower inflation. But the premiers, one after another, protested. They had been prepared for restraint, but the federal government had gone too far.
Gentlemen, I'm appalled by the proposals that have been contained in this offer document.
Western Australia is a little shocked too at the severity of the offer document.
Much too tough, too severe.
I can only say I'm somewhat shocked by the severity of the offer document. I did expect, being Friday the 13th and all that it wouldn't be the best day of our lives down here.
The arguments were to be put until after dark, but the government made changes only at the margins. When the meeting did end, Mr. Rand's response was typical of the rest.
In terms of cuts and reductions in both loan monies and recurrent expenditure, it was the most bruising Premier's Conference in 10 years.
Mr. Hawke had all along been conscious of the need to send a message out, not only to the public, but to the money market as well.
I would hope that the firm and uncompromising position that we've taken today spells out to everybody that we mean what we say, and that commentators who were either unintelligent or for whatever other reason didn't understand the message on Wednesday night have no doubts now.
In South Africa, over 1,000 anti-apartheid activists have been arrested and hundreds more are on the run as the nationwide state of emergency goes into its second day. This report from the BBC's Michael Burke.
As dogs swept the streets of demonstrators, more details. Press censorship, curfews, not just in some areas like last time, but everywhere. In Parliament tonight, President Botha talked of the threat of communist revolution.
The government is well aware of the fact that stricter security action will elicit strong criticism and even punitive measures from the outside world. The implications and the price of these have also been taken into account.
Many activists were already in hiding and escaped. Roadblocks were set up on main routes out of the cities. Lorries and cars driven by blacks were stopped and their passengers questioned. Outside Parliament in Cape Town, women from the embattled Crossroads squatter camp staged a protest demonstration. They surged around the parliamentary railings, appealing for the government to help them. Before long, though, the police arrived to break up the demonstration. From today, the security forces cannot be held responsible for their actions, and we will not be allowed to report them.
Australia is joining many other Western countries in protest by closing their embassies in Pretoria on Monday, the 10th anniversary of the Soweto uprising. But pressure is growing for much tougher measures against the Pretoria regime, particularly since the release last night of the report of the Eminent Persons Group. Richard Palfreyman begins this report from Washington.
Here in Washington, the State Department clung to the hope that negotiations were still possible. And spokesman Bernard Kalb said the Reagan administration had placed great hope in the Commonwealth Eminent Persons Group.
And we believe that the best response by the South African government to the pessimistic conclusions of the EPG report would be to accelerate steps toward ending apartheid. It must clearly demonstrate its readiness to negotiate with real leaders.
But in the House of Commons, Mrs. Thatcher, who's consistently opposed sanctions, remained uncommitted.
We're going to consider this report carefully with our partners before reaching conclusions.
The Commonwealth believe Mrs. Thatcher will back down. Mr. Fraser said today if Britain didn't go along with what would amount to the most sweeping sanctions ever imposed against South Africa, the future of the Commonwealth would be at risk.
Anti-nuclear protesters took to the water today to draw attention to the arrival in Sydney of an American warship, the frigate USS Rathburn. Two of the protesters were lucky to escape unhurt when they grabbed hold of the ship's bow.
It was a navigator's nightmare as the USS Rathburn made its way to Garden Island dockyards this morning. A flotilla of 20 boats and small craft crisscrossed its path, while two demonstrators risked their lives in a vain attempt to stop the frigate from docking. Others lost a mast, but the conflict reached its peak when the Rathburn crew turned hoses on the protesters, although they failed to dampen their spirits.
The New South Wales government has no plans for any emergency procedures if there is an accident on board that ship while it's here. Okay? So the people of Sydney are unaware of all that. We're trying to make them aware of the dangers of that ship being in the harbour.
Just back from 3 days' exercises with the Australian Navy, the frigate has faced anti-nuclear demonstrations in every port it's visited.
8 people were arrested this evening as BLF supporters staged a protest outside Melbourne's Hilton Hotel. As Peter Ryan reports, members of the Master Builders Association were heckled as they entered the hotel to attend their annual dinner dance.
About 150 BLF supporters crowded on the footpath outside the Hilton Hotel just after sunset. It was the usual noisy protest, and at one stage, it seemed, police outnumbered the demonstrators. As guests arrived for the Master Builders Association's annual dinner dance, violence flared as police moved in. A total of 8 BLF supporters were arrested and bundled into waiting police vans. A police spokesman said only a few taken into custody were actual members of the outlawed union. The protest continued as businessmen and their wives attending the dinner were abused as they entered the hotel. The arrest followed violence earlier today when a construction manager was bashed on a Melbourne building site. A warrant has been issued for the arrest of a senior BLF organiser in relation to the attack.
In other news around the country, Barry Unsworth looks set to become Neville Wran's successor as Premier of New South Wales after receiving an overwhelming vote of support at today's meeting of the Centre Unity faction. At the Chamberlain Royal Commission, a former Ayers Rock policeman contradicted claims by Aboriginal trackers. He said he saw no dingo tracks outside the tent, but did see a dingo's paw marks on a nearby sandhill. And in Victoria, the National Companies and Securities Commission has been taken to court by Elders IXL over the Commission's handling of its inquiry into cross-shared trading between Elders and BHP. Now for the weather details, here's David Elliott.
Good evening. Of the capitals, only Sydney and Adelaide had any showers today. The rest enjoyed some fine weather, very pleasant in many places. For the start of the weekend, it looks like showers continuing mostly along the east coast, Brisbane and Sydney, and the rest of the capitals having fine weather and seeing quite a deal of sun. The cloud picture for today, this is the cloud picture taken at noon, shows that quite a lot of cloud has pushed across now towards the Tasman. A little bit of interesting swirl of cloud there back in the Bight. We see that on the synoptic chart related to that low pressure system sitting in the Bight. The synoptic chart still looks a little bit complicated, but we'll find by tomorrow, looking ahead 24 hours, that it will straighten itself out. Tomorrow's chart has a high pressure system there over Tasmania. That'll bring settled weather there. But working between that high and the low in the Tasman are some onshore winds coming in from the southeast. Those will bring the coastal cloud and showers along the coast, certainly from Sydney up to Brisbane. But generally speaking, the rest of the capital should have quite a pleasant time. Looking at the forecast in a bit more detail, Brisbane cloudy but possibly dry tomorrow. Sydney definitely a few showers, a top of 17. Canberra also a few showers, 13. Melbourne will have clearing conditions, seeing the sun later in the day with a top of 14 degrees. Hobart remaining cloudy, a top of 12. Adelaide also cloudy tomorrow, 18. Perth dry and sunny, a top of 20 degrees. Darwin dry and sunny and a top of 32. Whatever the weather's like, I hope you have a very pleasant weekend. That's the national weather. Good night.
And that's all for now from ABC News. Our next bulletin tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Good evening.
I'm proud to present a new kind of television program. A television program about all the world's television programs. Some of these programs will open your eyes.
ここにお泊まりじゃないんですか?
そんなことを聞いちゃならないのかもしれない。
Others you'll want to watch with your eyes closed. You won't believe it till you've seen it, and after you've seen it, you still won't believe it.
Never insult an actor in a Taiwanese restaurant when he's badly made up as an old man.
Clive James on your television, 8:30 Wednesday.
On next Saturday's edition of Rock Arena, you'll see Japan, Brian Eno, and songs from the movie soundtrack Pretty in Pink. That's next Saturday night on Rock Arena.
Good evening, welcome once again to World Cup Soccer, day 13 I believe, and the penultimate day of action in round 1. And we're going to have a look at the final matches in Group D, Spain versus Algeria and Brazil against Northern Ireland. Well, it's arrived, finally, the official FIFA book on the World Cup, and you can find it at your newsagents and ABC shops from tomorrow, on sale at $4.99, and a glossy magazine with a look at the stadiums and profiles of the team. And as I said, it's finally arrived, but well worth getting. Welcome back to Craig Johnston. Craig, just doing his ostrich impersonation there. What do you think of the book?
Very informative, Peter. If you buy the book and you're sick of listening to us, you can just turn the sound down on your television, and if you're sick of looking at us, just turn the vision off as well and just read the book.
Thanks very much. A good plug for the coverage there, Craig.
Yes. Oh, well.
Now, you must be about ready to go back into training again for Liverpool.
About 2 weeks' time. I'll have to start getting back to fitness then. I'm a little bit worried about Jan Mulby and Steve Nicol, who are over in Mexico at the moment. I think that the club should give them an extension of 2 or 3 weeks after the finals is finished. I'm sure they will, because it was a very demanding season, and it's so hot over there in Mexico now that I'm sure they need a big rest after this.
Have you been doing any work yourself while you've been out here?
Not really, no. I think I deserve a great big rest, and I've had one.
Good on you. Well, before we have a look at today's matches, let's have a look at yesterday's action. Day 12.